So the ideal stablecoin is the holy grail of crypto. But why? What's so good about stability when we want coins to moon? And how can we use this to our advantage? That's what the stablecoin series is gonna cover. Yes, I'm gonna talk about all different types of stablecoins like MakerDAO, Tether, their strengths, their weaknesses. So be sure to subscribe if you haven't already and click that bell button to be alerted for the next video. Alright. Cryptography paved the way for a new revolutionary type of money to spread throughout the world, from BitGold to Bitcoin to all the digital currencies we have today. This new medium of exchange is more open, more accessible to most people all over the world than national currencies. But the adoption of this supposedly superior currency is being impeded by a lot of its shortcomings, one of the worst of which is volatility. Too much of it. The crypto space is wild, prone to drastic price swings in short periods of time. But hey, we wanted a free market, we got one. We shouldn't complain that it's too free. However, that doesn't mean we shouldn't look for ways to work around this. Bitcoin's not gonna be ready for global adoption anytime soon. And I mean the real global adoption, not just frenzy buying. Neither is Ethereum. In fact, from the looks of it, Ethereum might not be ready for a very long time. Good for people like me who are always up to date with the market, but the businesses and average consumers don't want to deal with unnecessary currency risks when using cryptocurrencies. It's hard to pay someone with Bitcoin if the value keeps fluctuating. Furthermore, these volatilities almost make it impossible to create blockchain-based derivatives and loans, as well as other smart contracts that require stability. So in the meantime, while we build the infrastructure for the future, as well as provide solutions for the unbanked today, not tomorrow, we're gonna need a currency that is non-speculative and stable. With stablecoins, we can move value in the crypto market with drastically less volatility risk. Hello Crypto Gang! Welcome to another LamboLife video. All stablecoins are pegged to something, whether it's another currency or asset, and in special cases, a particular value. Stablecoins commonly peg to the US dollar, but they can also peg to other major currencies and assets. Essentially, a stablecoin claims to be an asset that prices itself, rather than an asset that is priced by supply and demand. But the problem here is that that's not how markets normally work. For the most part of history, supply and demand ruled over the economy. However, stablecoins are merely currency pegs, and currency pegs are not impossible. It's just difficult to make them work. So let's explore what makes them do work. When dealing with stablecoins, you have to consider three things. How much volatility can this peg withstand? Specifically the downward selling pressure. There's no problem if the value of your peg continues to go up, but what if it crashes? Another thing is, how much does it cost to maintain? Also, how easy and transparent is it to analyze the stability level? If market participants cannot identify when a peg is objectively weak, it would be easy to spread fake news or incite a market panic, which can trigger further selling, essentially a death spiral. So let's recap. An ideal stablecoin should be able to withstand a great deal of market volatility, should not be extremely costly to maintain, and should be transparent to traders and other market participants. Alright, let's proceed with the three main types of stablecoins. In this video, we will be talking about the algorithmic stablecoins, which are backed by nothing except algorithms. Algorithmic stablecoins, also known as non-collateralized stablecoins. This type uses software economic models as a way to provide price stability without the need for any underlying collateralized assets. But how does it do that? That's where the so-called seigniorage shares come in. The idea is simple. You build a central bank through a smart contract. Okay, now your head might be spinning, and you're like, what? Smart contracts and central bank? Well, yes. And the smart contract's monetary policy can only have one mandate: issue a currency that will trade at the value of $1 or €1, whatever you want. But how do we make it stable, just like that? What if the price gets higher? That is to say, instead of $1 per stablecoin, it becomes $2. Then in that case, it means the supply is too low for the demand. And what happens then? The smart contract mints new coins to balance it out and get it back to $1 again. But that's the easy part. What if it happens the opposite way and the coin is trading too low? That is to say, the trading price of the stable coin goes down to 50 cents or half a dollar. How do we stabilize it? We can mint new coins, but we can't recall coins that were already sold on the market. So what other choice do we have? For easy explanation, I'll give our example stablecoin a name: LAMBO coin, issued at $1 per coin, but is now trading low at half a dollar. But how do we get it back to $1? Señorage Shares says, okay, instead of giving out more LAMBO coins, I'm going to issue shares that entitle you to future LAMBO coins. The next time I issue new coins and earn LAMBO coins, shareholders will be entitled to a share of those future profits. That is to say, even if the smart contract doesn't have the cash to pay me now, because I expect demand for Lambo coin to grow over time, eventually it will earn more Lambo coins and be able to pay out all of its shareholders. This allows the supply to decrease and the coin to restabilize at $1. That's basically how it works to remain stable. Now, it does resemble a pyramid scheme. After all, it is a central bank-like smart contract that governs it. The important thing to note is that there is no man on top who calls the shots. However, it has inherent risks. There's no such thing as free lunch in economics. Seigniorage shares can absorb some amount of downward pressure for a time, but if it goes on for too long, traders will lose confidence that shares will eventually pay out. This will further push down the price and trigger a crash. Perhaps the most risky part of this system is that it's difficult to analyze. Like, how much downward pressure can the system take? That is to say, how low can the price of the coin go without losing its ability to withstand the pressure? Will whales or insiders help the system if it starts spiraling down? At what point should we expect them to intervene? At what level can the system fall before it breaks? And if you don't have a transparent answer to these questions, then that makes this system susceptible to panic selling. With that being said, algorithmic stablecoins are very ambitious, in the sense that they don't need collateral nor are they dependent from any other currencies. Even if the dollar crashes or Ethereum collapses, they would remain. And unlike central banks, algorithmic stablecoins do not have vested self-interest that could inflate or deflate the currency. It would only have one global mandate, which is stability. If an algorithmic stablecoin succeeds in what it does, this could radically change the world. If it fails, it would be a nightmare. Since there is no collateral behind this system, it would almost certainly crash to zero. Now, the most promising project of this type would have been Basecoin. Unfortunately, they shut down last December due to problems with regulation. The reason for this is that Basecoin's protocol implements a secondary token which needs to be purchased in order for the primary token to keep its stable peg in place. And under US law, that secondary token was considered a security. So as you can see, it may be challenging for this type of stablecoin to navigate through strict regulation. Another algorithmic stablecoin is Ampleforth. It has variations but quite similar. There's not much projects pursuing this model of stablecoins this year, so I'm not very optimistic with algorithmic stablecoins, and tight regulations might have contributed to that. But even though Basecoin failed, that doesn't mean algorithmic stablecoins are not going to be useful. From what I've learned so far from all my research with stablecoins is that an ideal stablecoin needs to be a hybrid between different stablecoin categories, and that's why it's important to learn about them. Damn, it feels good to be in crypto. Be sure to subscribe so you'll catch me on the next video. Next, we'll be talking about two other categories of stablecoins, crypto-collateralized and fiat-collateralized. Those types had more success so far, and I think they would be more exciting to know. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I'll see you on the flip side.